You wake up one morning and realize something has shifted. The mirror shows the same face, but behind your eyes there's a different kind of knowing. The world hasn't changed, but you have. Welcome to your 80s, might not the decline everyone warned you about, but perhaps the most honest, beautiful chapter you'll ever live. I'm Mary, and at 62, I've been privileged to witness my beloved mother, my wise aunts, and so many dear friends step into this sacred passage. What I've discovered through their journeys might surprise you. Your 80s aren't about what you're re-losing, they're about what you're finally brave enough to claim. Let me share what really happens when you reach this remarkable decade of life. Your social world transforms in the most beautiful way imaginable. Those exhausting holiday gatherings, those coffee meetings that felt more like obligations, and relationships built on nothing more than convenience begin to naturally fall away. But here's the miracles: what remains becomes pure gold. The phone calls might come less frequently, visits might slow down, and silence might settle around you more often, but something absolutely extraordinary happens in that quiet space. You discover the profound difference between loneliness and solitude. Susan from Portland learned this at 81 when her weekly bridge group dissolved. Instead of scrambling to fill the void with new activities, she found herself savoring deeper, more meaningful conversations with just two close friends. Their monthly dinners became the highlight of her life, filled with laughter, tears, and the kind of honesty that only comes with true intimacy. Think about David from Sacramento, who spent decades networking and maintaining dozens of surface-level friendships. At 83, he made a radical decision: he would only invest time in relationships that nourished his soul. His address book shrank dramatically, but his heart expanded. The few people who remained in his inner circle became his chosen family, bound not by obligation, but by genuine love and understanding. This is your invitation to curate your connections with the same care an artist chooses their colors. Stop apologizing for having preferences about who deserves your precious time and energy. Quality over quantity isn't just a saying, it says a way of life that brings profound peace. Hey, das Gute. I'd love to know who's listening today. Drop your name and what city you're recalling home from in the comments below. Whether you in Phoenix, Miami, Denver, or anywhere in between, you are part of this beautiful community of wisdom seekers. Your relationship with your body enters a new phase of mutual respect and gentle negotiation. Those morning aches aren't a punishment, they were your body's way of asking for a different kind of care. The balance that once came automatically now requires mindfulness. Tasks that used to be effortless might take a little longer, and energy levels might fluctuate more than they used to. But here's what the anti-aging industry doesn't want you to know: this isn't failure. This is adaptation, and adaptation is one of the most sophisticated skills humans possess. Margaret from Denver learned this at 79 when her knees started protesting her daily 3-mile walks. Instead of seeing this as the end of her active lifestyle, she discovered water aerobics and gentle yoga. Her body responded with gratitude, and she found herself moving with more grace and intention than she had in years. Consider Robert from Atlanta, who at 82 had to give up his beloved woodworking due to hand tremors. Rather than retreating into disappointment, he became a mentor at the local community college, teaching young people the craft he could no longer practice with his hands but had mastered in his heart. His wisdom became his new tool, more valuable than any saw or chisel. Your body has been your faithful companion for 8 decades. It deserves patience, not frustration. Start each day by thanking your body for carrying you this far. Listen to its whispers before they become shouts. Adapt and adjust with the wisdom of someone who understands that flexibility is strength, not surrender. The way your mind works begins to reveal its true sophistication. You might forget where you put your reading glasses, but you can recall with crystal clarity the feeling of your first kiss or the exact words your grandmother spoke on her deathbed. This isn't to memory failure, it's memory wisdom. Your brain has become a master curator, preserving what feeds the soul while releasing what merely cluttered the mind. Linda from Chicago started what she called her golden hour memories. Every evening at sunset, she would write down one vivid memory from any period of her life. These weren't just nostalgic reminiscences. They became a treasure trove of wisdom and stories that enriched every conversation with her family. Her grandchildren began visiting more often, not out of duty, but because Grandma Linda had become the most interesting person they knew. Consider Thomas from Phoenix, who at 85 began keeping what he called a wisdom journal. Each evening, he would record one clear memory from his day, one from his past, and one hope for tomorrow. This practice strengthened his recall and gave him a documented treasure trove of experiences to share with his children and grandchildren. Exercise your mind not with worry about what you've forgotten, but with celebration of what you remember. Your memory is the broken filing system. It's a wise librarian who knows exactly which books are worth keeping on the shelf. Pussy. Something extraordinary happens in your 80s. You stop performing the role everyone expected you to play and start living as who you truly are. The masks come off, not in anger or rebellion, but in the sweet relief of finally being authentic. Betty from Austin spent 75 years trying to be the perfect Southern lady, always saying the right thing, never causing a stir. At 81, she started wearing purple to church, speaking her mind at book club, and traveling solo to places she'd always dreamed of seeing. Her family was initially shocked, then delighted to discover the vibrant woman who had been hiding behind decades of propriety. Consider Frank from Seattle, who decided at 85 that he was done with uncomfortable dress shirts and formal dinners that bored him. Instead, he wore his favorite cardigan everywhere and only attended events that sparked joy. His family initially worried he was becoming antisocial, but they soon realized he was becoming more himself than ever before. This is your time to stop apologizing for your preferences and start celebrating them. Wear what makes you comfortable. Say what you think with kindness but without filter. Choose activities that bring you joy even if others don't understand. Your authenticity gives others permission to be real too. Routine becomes your secret weapon for creating a life of intentional peace. Your body and mind begin to crave rhythm in ways they never did before. And that's not limitation, it's liberation. Dorothy from San Francisco created what she lovingly called her daily dance, morning tea, while watching the sunrise, afternoon reading in her favorite chair, evening phone calls with her sister in Portland. Friends thought it might be boring, but Dorothy had never felt more free. Consider Edward from Tampa, who at 83 discovered that his body craved consistency. He ate breakfast at the same time each day, took his afternoon walk at precisely 3:00, and read for exactly 1 hour before bed. This structure didn't limit him, it freed him. Within the framework of routine, he could be spontaneous with his thoughts and creative with his conversations. Create your own comforting rhythms. Maybe it's morning coffee by the window, afternoon reading, or evening reflection. These aren't restrictions, they're re-anchors that keep you grounded in a world that often feels chaotic. Your routine is your sanctuary. The profound shift toward reflection and legacy begins to color every day with deeper meaning. At this age, mortality isn't just an idea, it feels nearby, not as a threat, but as a wise teacher helping you focus on what truly matters. You've likely said goodbye to lifelong friends, perhaps a spouse, maybe siblings. These losses teach you about the preciousness of time and the importance of expressing love while you can. William from Phoenix started recording voice messages for his great-grandchildren who weren't even born yet, sharing not just family history, but life philosophy, practical wisdom, and expressions of love. These recordings became his most precious gift, ensuring his voice and wisdom would echo through generations. Consider Mary from Atlanta, who at 81 started a project she called Finishing Well. She reached out to people she'd lost touch with, not to rekindle relationships, but to express gratitude for the role they'd played in her life. She wrote to her third-grade teacher, her first boss, a neighbor who shown kindness during difficult times. These letters weren't about getting responses, they were about completing circles and releasing old regrets. You discover that being present isn't about doing more, it's about experiencing more deeply. A conversation with a friend becomes richer, a conversation with a friend becomes richer. A sunset carries more meaning, a grandchild's laughter echoes longer in your heart. You've moved beyond the rush of productivity into the grace of presence. Eleanor from San Francisco found that her daily walks became meditation in motion. At 84, she noticed details she missed for decades, the way morning light hit her neighbor's fence, how birds built their nests, the changing colors of leaves through seasons. Her world had gotten smaller geographically, but infinitely larger in depth and meaning. Consider Albert from Milwaukee, who at 86 made a conscious decision to fully engage in every conversation, no matter how brief. When the grocery clerk asked how his day was going, Albert really thought about it and gave a genuine answer. When his neighbor mentioned her garden, Albert listened with complete attention. These small moments of connection became highlights of his days. This is your superpower, the ability to find profound meaning in ordinary moments. While younger people rush past life, you have the wisdom to pause, breathe, and truly see. Practice presence daily. Put down the phone during conversations, savor your meals, watch clouds move across the sky. This isn't wasting time, it is investing in richness of experience. Your mind becomes a living archive of experiences no history book could capture. You've witnessed transformations that younger generations can barely imagine. Grace from Nashville realized this when she started volunteering at the local high school. Sharing stories of growing up without air conditioning, watching the moon landing on a black and white television, and living through decades of change. Students hung on every word, fascinated by these first-hand accounts of history. Consider Barbara from Seattle, who at 84 began recording voice messages for her great-grandchildren, sharing personal philosophies developed over decades of living. She talked about resilience during hardship, finding joy in simple pleasures, and the importance of treating others with dignity. These recordings became treasured family heirlooms. Don't let your stories die with you. Share them freely. They're treasures that can guide, inspire, and educate others. You not just someone with memories, you're a keeper of wisdom that the world desperately needs. The art of letting go becomes your pathway to freedom. Those things that once seemed critically important, the perfect house, the latest fashion, impressing colleagues, lose their grip on you. This is T giving up, it as gaining perspective. Rose from Denver donated half her possessions to charity. Not because she needed money or space, but because she realized that objects were weighing her down emotionally. Keeping only items that brought joy or served a purpose, she found her home felt lighter, her mind clearer, and her heart more peaceful. Meet Charles from Portland, who at 83 stopped reading news that upset him without offering solutions. Instead, he focused on local community events where he could make a difference. He let go of worrying about global problems beyond his influence and channeled his energy into tutoring children at the local library. Practice the art of letting go. Release grudges that serve no purpose. Donate items that clutter your space. Stop worrying about things beyond your control. Each act of release creates space for peace to enter your life. Letting go is to losing, it's just making room for what truly matters. Turn strength reveals itself in ways you never expected. Strength at 80 isn't about lifting heavy objects or running long distances. It's about getting up each morning despite the aches. It is about maintaining hope when loss feels overwhelming. It says about continuing to love even when your heart has been broken multiple times. This emotional and spiritual strength is perhaps the most powerful of all. Every morning, you choose joy over despair. You're reperforming an act of heroism. Every time you extend kindness despite your own pain, you are demonstrating courage that leaves younger people in awe. You not just surviving, you showing the world how to live with grace. Your journey continues to matter profoundly. If you've reached this chapter of life or are walking beside someone who has, No, this aging isn't about fading away. It's about living more truthfully, more gently, and more intentionally. You're not alone. You're part of a growing community that values grace over youth, wisdom over noise. Your 80s can be among your most meaningful years. Not because you're doing the most, but because you're being the most authentic version of yourself. Every conversation you have, every kindness you show, every story you share adds richness to the world. The secret is to fight aging, but to embrace it as another chapter in your ongoing story. A chapter filled with depth, wisdom, authenticity, and quiet courage. A chapter that younger generations need to witness, learn from, and eventually step into themselves. You are not a burden to be managed or a problem to be solved. You are a treasure to be cherished, a teacher to be honored, and a human being whose journey continues to unfold with purpose and meaning. Your voice matters, your experience has value, your presence makes a difference. Don't let anyone tell you your best days are behind you. Your 80s can be your most glorious decade, not because you're redoing the most, but because you're being the most genuinely yourself you've ever been. You've spent decades learning how to live. Now you get to show everyone else what living truly means. If this message resonated with you, consider subscribing to Elder Wisdom. We share calm, thoughtful videos every week because your voice, your journey, and your peace matter deeply. Until next time, be well, be kind to yourself, and never stop growing into the magnificent person you were always meant to become.